the charm. Hello, my name is Rosanna Rosales, and I'm here today with Gina de la Chene. I am the wife of Andrew Ola, and the reason we're sitting here today is after the last show, Andrew and I sat and carefully read all the reviews from the last KP24 in Amsterdam. There were two things that popped out at us. One, people were super grateful that Andrew had brought Kingpins into their living room and helped them feel a part of the community. And the second were a lot of comments were, what can you do to help those that are unemployed or furloughed, sitting here wondering what will happen to our industry, what will happen to us? So Andrea said, well, what do you think we should do? And I thought it would be a nice idea to invite someone who specialized in this, specialized in trauma, specialized in mental health. And so that is why we have Gina de la Chene with us today. And she specializes in this, and we're going to ask her a little bit about herself and let her tell us what she does.
Thank you, Rosanna. My name is Gina de la Chene. I live in New York City. I live in Brooklyn, so right now I'm kind of in the middle of everything. And I am a practitioner and a facilitator of mind-body practices for trauma and resiliency. I have a private practice here, and I've also been working in East Africa for the last about 6 years, sharing practice with the women and children in the slums of Kampala. I've worked in refugee camps, in rescue centers for survivors of sex trafficking. I also train clinicians, street counselors, social workers, and trauma therapists on how to share practices. And I have classes online that anybody can join. Some of them are free, and that's what I do.
So we want to discuss our industry, which is the denim industry and the fashion industry, which really encompasses a lot of our attendees of the shows. So when we have a bricks and mortar show, or even like we're doing the live stream here, we have three components that attend the shows. There are those that work for the retailers, who we continually read in the paper because the stores being closed have furloughed or let go hundreds of thousands of people. They're the brands, those that work for large brands, such as very famous brands, and all the way to smaller brands or unknown brands, or even brands that have most recently gone out of business. And the third component are their designers and freelancers, consultants who make their living supporting the industry, but are at a standstill because of everything that's gone on with COVID-19. So I want to be able to speak to these three segments and give them your advice as to, as we're sitting home waiting to be called back to work, what can you do to stabilize your mental health and to prevent getting depressed? And what are your tips and recommendations to your patients?
Well, I definitely recommend that people see, or try to see, that what we're experiencing right now is incredibly intense for everybody. And it's not uncommon that anybody will experience anxiety, depression, even in the course of one day, right? And it's really useful to recognize that what you're experiencing is as a result of your nervous system being activated because of what we're experiencing. So with anxiety, in which our nervous system is in an upregulated state, it would be useful to then downregulate. If we're experiencing downregulation, which is depression, it would be useful to upregulate. And what I've done for myself, even, I mean, this has been going on for months and months and months, and I've woken up some mornings and it's just feeling dread, you know, and then recognizing that feeling, what it feels like in my body, right? Sure. Because this is where we're experiencing everything that we experience in our lives, we experience because we have a body. And so when we can recognize those feelings and then utilize different practices to move out of those states to help us find balance, right? But also recognizing that if you are experiencing depression, there's nothing wrong with you. It's your nervous system that is experiencing. And also, it might actually be an appropriate response, but the idea is to not stay there for too long. Do you know what I mean?
What are your tips? Like when someone is very depressed, how do they like break out of the funk?
Move your body. Definitely move your body. Yes, if possible, go for a run. If possible, go for a walk. Start to move your body, and your body will naturally start to feel the benefits of that. And you know, you've increased your endorphins, If you're with people, also try to find some co-regulation with people, spend time with people, connect with people, give
It's
yourself
really important. People
absolutely.
make fun of all the little Zoom parties and Zoom this, Zoom that, but I really think it's nice. You have to connect with your friends and people that you care for.
Yes. And, another really beautiful antidote to depression is finding awe. Look, if you can be in nature and spend time with it, reconnect to it. Because when we're reconnecting to nature, we're also reconnecting to ourselves.
Now, what do you recommend with their Netflix viewings?
Watch comedy.
Yes, you have to watch happy things, right?
Yeah,
I always discuss this. If it's too dark, I'm like, no, I'm not in.
I highly recommend watching improv and comedies and stand-up comedians, and because joy is necessary as well in whatever way that we can find it.
And it's a bit of an escape, and we all need a little escape to take us somewhere else during these times.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you talked a little bit about the chemical reaction in the body and how down you need to be brought up, or if you're up, you need to be brought down. I mean, the medical explanation makes so much sense. What else can you do to protect yourself?
I highly recommend, if possible, doing breath work every day for 5 to 6, 7 minutes. Whenever we lengthen our exhalation, what we're doing is engaging the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's the part of the nervous system that tells us everything's okay, that we're safe, right? Because many of us right now aren't safe. Many of us don't feel safe. So how can we utilize our own connection, again, to our bodies to help us calm and feel grounded? We naturally do this anyway. Many times we're walking throughout the day and we sigh, right? That's us naturally doing that. So what we're doing when we sit down and do breath work is we're having that conscious decision. We're actually having some agency over what we're experiencing. We can change our experience. And when we feel like we have no control, this is a way in which we can.
So mindfulness.
Mindfulness, there's many different apps that you can use. I use Insight Timer to time my meditation sequences, but on that, there's many, many teachers. There's also, if you Google me, there's some stuff that I've put out there. But, the thing is that there are resources that can help, and they're available. But definitely utilizing your connection to yourself and doing some grounding work, meditation, mindfulness, breath work. Absolutely.
And so if we calculate that we have estimate like almost 1 million people within our industry displaced, and that includes the furloughed ones, what do they do if they have this daunting thought that there might not be enough jobs in our industry to absorb all these people when we come out of this? Like, what is your advice to them in terms of opening their mind to other opportunities out there?
Well, the first thing that I would recommend is noticing that when these thoughts come up, the effect that the thoughts have on the body, because that's how it works, right? It's stressful, and then our bodies start to respond. So notice that that's happening, right? And you can utilize different practice to ground yourself. And then there's two things. One is to recognize that, as you mentioned, what was the number that you just gave? 100,000, yeah?
No, I think it's almost 1 million.
1 million people. Recognize
not just in New York, but across all areas of our industry, yes.
Yeah, so that's 1 million people who are also struggling. That's 1 million people who are all sharing the same problem. So
I personally know quite a few in New York City, so yeah,
yes,
it's very common.
I do too. And so we can recognize that we're not alone in that, and then also recognize that we are going to have to adapt. Many of us everywhere have to adapt. And possibly taking this opportunity to learn more skills, because we have to.
And we have the time while we're at home.
Exactly. I mean, the fact is we have to. There is no choice. So, recognize that this is incredibly stressful for people all over the planet. Learn to adapt and come into yourself.
Right. That's good advice. And also to use your skill sets in other avenue, categories that apply.
Mhm.
Without it, maybe not fashion. I mean, Andrew interviewed a recruiter, and she said that people have to learn. They use the term pivot. So, if you're really great in one area, and she used the example of sales, that someone was great in sales and fashion, and he pivoted to sales in another area altogether. And a successful salesperson or a successful creative person can create a lot of different things, not just fashion.
Exactly. And in before, when I referenced looking to nature, right? We look to nature to see that nature in ourselves. And right now, the ability to flow,
Yeah.
to adapt, is what we have to tap into. And it's there. It's absolutely there. It's always been there.
Okay, and so in terms of classes that you offer, what do you recommend that they could, at the end, we're going to recommend that they join for some free opportunities to relax?
So every Monday I hold it. Yeah, every Monday I hold a class. It's free, and it's on the Mind Oasis platform, and it's called Mind Body Practices for Resiliency in the Time of Corona. And these are a variety of different practices, which include yoga, meditation, qigong, mindfulness,
Mhm.
that I offer, so that people can build up their skill set, your inner toolkit for yourself.
That's wonderful. So we have people currently asking some questions along the side. So we will take those questions and send them back to you and get some response that we can publish and hold your video on our website so that people could reach out and get your help. I really appreciate all your time and willingness to work with us today.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to share.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Be well and be safe.
Oh, you too. That's beautiful.